Family drama. The first story is titled, Am I the a-hole for not showing up to my dad's funeral after making him will me 50% of his assets as a condition to be there for his family? Basically, I stopped having a relationship with my dad after he ran off with another woman and had a bunch of kids with her. I was 13, old enough to choose, and decided to live with my mom full-time after I couldn't tolerate his girlfriend's presence anymore. I was a miracle pregnancy, conceived after 12 years of marriage and 8 years of trying, so I have no other sibling. They never did get married, but ended up having a couple of kids. The youngest is a toddler. I don't know them. I've never met them. 10 years later, I get a call from the girlfriend sobbing, claiming that my dad was sick and wanted to talk to me before he died. The a-hole wanted his family back again, minus the original wife, of course. My mom encouraged me to meet him one last time. So, I talked to him over call and told him that I would show up and be with the family in his last days and after his passing, on the condition that he wills me 50% of the assets. I would only agree to meet with him in the presence of a lawyer, in an official capacity. He was desperate, so he agreed. I knew he would never give a single penny to my mom. So, this was the only way for me to secure 25% of his estate from my mom. She worked her butt off to support him for 10 years, only to get discarded for a younger model. He agreed. I showed up to the meeting. The lawyer was present, and the girlfriend kept sneering at me. I didn't care, though. I walked out happy. And as my good luck would have it, my dad slipped into a coma 2 days later, never to wake up. His girlfriend kept calling and texting me to help her out with the funeral. I blocked her number. The other day, I ran into her at the bank. She confronted me and called me a horrible gold digger. According to her, I was the reason my dad was never happy and present for his new family. She also blamed me for all the problems in their relationship and that I betrayed my father in his deathbed. Am I the a-hole? Edit. Mom never got a fair settlement during the divorce. He hid assets, spent a fortune on his mistress, from the marital money and my college fund, and fake filed for bankruptcy. Now let's read the top comments. Everyone sucks here, but I'll tell you what, brother. If my dad had money, I'd do the same thing. Sister. Edit. Thank you, kind stranger, for the Yes Queen award. I don't feel like a queen, but I do have a better credit score, thanks to my emotional manipulation skills, so I'll accept the honor. You're entirely justified in what you did. Your absentee dad and his girlfriend figured you should be their dog's buddy and provide support to a family you've never met when he dies. Excuse me, what? Two grown-ups figured they'd manipulate a child despite 10 years of crappy parenting, and you manipulated a selfish man to give back to your mom. You made a hard choice, and you and your mom are gonna be better for it. Not the a-hole. Everyone sucks here, mildly. Your dad sucks for leaving your mom and choosing his new family over you. All those years with no contact, only for him to call you on his deathbed wanting to make things right. In my opinion, that's selfish. It was done just to give him peace of mind, not to apologize to you or mend your relationship. You and your mom are entitled to half of his assets, but you promised to be there for his girlfriend and your half-siblings in his last days and after his passing. Not honoring that promise sucks on your part too, but I can sense how much resentment you have for him and his new family, which is something I can't blame you for. I would probably feel the same way too. You know, on any post that I read which concerns a promise or request of a dead family member, it's usually said that honoring it doesn't really matter since the person is now dead. That they aren't going to know, and that why should it matter now? Sure, but in this case, the promise was made in the presence of one of the people affected who's still alive. The promise was made over a phone call. Dad tried to make me and a girlfriend hug it out awkwardly after the lawyer left. He thought he was reuniting his family. You gave his mind peace. That's pretty big of you. And perhaps you can be there, once they're older, for your half-siblings. You don't owe them anything, but when they're older, it might be a nice gesture, as their mother sounds like a piece of work. Not sure about that. I essentially ghosted him after I made sure I secured my bag. He slipped into coma 2 days later, but he did try to contact me after the visit. I didn't pick up his calls, nor did I reply to his messages. For the second story, am I an a-hole for not wanting to share the millionaire inheritance that my grandfather left just for me with my cousins and aunts? Before you need to understand who my grandfather was, so a short text to describe him. My grandfather had a very poor origin, but he moved up in the world. He led a peaceful and comfortable life. The few luxuries he gave himself was to travel to Italy, his country of origin, But he lived in a modest house in a good neighborhood, and I drove a BMW from the 80s. I know you said that it is not simple, but we are talking about a guy who was worth 8 digits in theory. This is important. Had 4 companies and employed 500 people. He could live much higher than he did. He did not spoil his children or his grandchildren, but he always made sure to pay everyone the best education and presented his 3 children, 2 women, 1 man, with a good home when they got married. My grandfather never let relatives work at his companies, including his children and grandchildren. He said that everyone should follow their own paths and always made it clear to never wait for his inheritance. He made it clear that he would choose the person who proved to be more able to handle his business and money. This created a discreet competition in which everyone tried to show the best to take on the business. I am the youngest grandson. I am 28. The oldest is 45. We are a total of 10 grandchildren, plus my aunts. My father passed away a few years ago. My grandmother passed away a little after. Here comes my question. My grandfather died about 4 months ago and left everything to me. And what surprised us the most was that he had a lot more than we thought. He had 9 digits, which confirmed my theory that there are wealthy people who never appear in Forbes lists. And that, of course, caused fights and arguments with my cousins and aunts about sharing the money with them. Should I share? After all, everyone knew what my grandfather wanted. Now let's read the top comments for this post. Not the a-hole, as that's what your grandfather wanted. They are more than likely going to contest the will in court and may get a settlement which will be a small portion of the whole. Sounds like your grandpa, though well-intended, was the a-hole. If I ever made millions, I'd make sure to set up my children and grandchildren for life with whatever business they wanted to go into, including if they wanted to work with me. I understand where he came from, so I'm sure he just never really came to terms with how very much he had to share. Personally, I would share, but it really is your decision. Not the a-hole. You're free to do as you see fit. Not the a-hole. It's all yours. Enjoy. Tell everyone else to go pound sand. No one should even be asking you or demanding anything. Just because of that, you should do nothing. Rule of thumb when inheriting money, sit in it for at least a year, so you don't make any rash decisions. The next story is titled, Am I the a-hole for telling my dad it's not my job to make things equal? I, 20 female, grew up with a blended family. My parents divorced when I was 4, my father remarried when I was 8, and I lost my mom when I was 10, and had to live with my dad's family. My stepmom and I have always had a tricky relationship. In the early days, she tried to compete with my mom and was very territorial when my mom was around, like trying to force me to hold her hand and always trying to move things along if I saw my mom and went up to hug her. She forced hugs with me then, when exchanges would happen, if it was in front of my mom and didn't take no for an answer. I resented the hell out of her. Then my mom died and it was a crappy 2 years after. My stepmom was hurt I hadn't wanted her at the funeral. She was hurt that I wasn't enthusiastic about living with them. I wanted to do the same 50-50 with my dad and maternal grandparents, who were a huge part of my life up to that point. It got a little easier. I have never really cared much for her, but after a while, I did try to be nicer and more inclusive, but I never given my relationship with her as much effort as I did with my parents. This has apparently bothered her, and recently, she brought up how much effort I used to put into making gifts and cards for my mom when she was alive. She actually kept track of that stuff, and how I would always buy her a card and get her something generic for gifts. Apparently, this has always bothered her, and is why she competed so much. She also pointed out I never made an effort for Mother's Day with her. That it was obvious, I didn't want to celebrate her on that day. The truth is, Mother's Day has not been a celebratory day for me since I lost my mom. It's just a day where I'm reminded of my loss. Even a decade later, it still feels that way. Especially when I see friends post with their moms and stuff. Anyway, things really soured between us after she brought this stuff up. And yesterday, my dad told me that I should try to make things more equal because it hurts her feelings. And she's been in my life long enough to have earned the same effort I used to put in with my mom. I told him it was not my job to help her compete with my dead mom. And it wasn't my job as a kid to keep things equal between them. Am I the a-hole? Now let's read the top comments. Gross, gross, gross. This is the stepmom version of that thing where men think women are vending machines, where you put compliment tokens in and get S out. They are treating you like she is entitled to you putting out for her in the way she wants because she put parenting tokens in. You don't owe a close relationship to anyone, not anyone in the world. Close relationships happen when both people want them. If one person doesn't want it, then that should be respected. The fact this woman is incapable of respecting this, that she couldn't even respect it for a child who was grieving the loss of her real mother, is the whole damn reason you don't like her, not the a-hole. And it doesn't seem like she put in valid parenting tokens either. She was trying to shove the tokens in as hard as she could, despite the error messages in the first few years. It seems like she eventually stopped shoving them in a handful at a time, and just started forcing them in one by one, or even trying to make the machine take bent and messed up parenting tokens. So, she got a bent and messed up relationship with her stepdaughter. This is nobody's fault but her own, and maybe the dad since he didn't stop her. Not the a-hole, OP. Not the a-hole. You can't force a child to love you, and she definitely pushed you away when she tried competing with your mom when you were little. It's not your fault you two aren't close, it's hers, for trying to alienate you from your biological mom. I'm so sorry for your loss. I hope everything is well and wish you all the best. Hell to the no. You are not the a-hole. My mom is never replaceable. If my stepmom is getting something generic, she should appreciate the fact that she is being acknowledged. But does she have kids of her own? Yes, she has 3 kids with my dad. Then do not worry about it. She is a grown woman. But my mom taught me to be the better person. I'm not going to tell you how. It's not your job to make things equal. It's in your hands to see what you can do to make your dad happy if you want him in your life. He is the real blood after all. Now for the last story. Am I the a-hole for accepting my step-family when my bio brother did not, and he was shunned for it? My father cheated on my bio mom and abandoned us to marry my current stepmom when I was 12 and my brother was 14. He was frankly an absent father and I didn't miss him much, but my mom didn't have an easy time raising us as a single parent. She died 2 years later from an overdose when I was 14. We subsequently moved to and lived with my father's new family, comprising my stepmom and her 2 sons, 2 and 3 years older than me. Going into this, both me and my bio brother hated both of them, with the view that my dad was a cheating, unreliable scumbag and she was just a cheap witch. I wasn't expecting to actually like my stepmom, though we were right about my father. Past the first few months of awkwardness, my stepmom and brothers actually treated me great. They always wanted a daughter and sister respectively and quickly started including me in their family activities and looking out for me. My stepbrothers are also genuinely nice people, and I am so lucky to have them in my life. My bio brother, on the other hand, didn't take the move well and started acting out, /skipping school, /getting in trouble with the law. He didn't participate in family activities and moved out as soon as he could. Recently, I met my brother and he told me that he blamed me for jumping ship so quickly and not sticking with him. He felt that I betrayed our mom and him. He said that if I didn't accept his family too, my dad would probably have packed us off to live with our uncle in a different state. And he wouldn't have had to go through his crappy teenage years almost alone. I'm 20 now, and I've always felt guilty about so quickly accepting them and leaving my brother behind. Meeting my brother only cemented this. Should I have not so quickly accepted my stepmom and brothers? Am I the a-hole? Now for the top comments. No a-holes here. He lost his mom super young and is allowed to have complicated feelings about that. He shouldn't be blaming you for anything and maybe should be in counseling to deal with that. It's an emotional situation and I really see both sides here. The dad is an a-hole for sure. I think the stepmom and the stepbros also might be, because Sophie said they treated her well because they've always wanted a daughter and sister. They may have not treated bio brother as well as they did OP because they had no use for him, making him feel like an outcast and driving a wedge between OP and him. I feel sorry for the poor kid. No a-holes here, except your father. You were both kids. You were able to find a positive in a crappy situation. Your brother was not. It is easier to blame you than it is to accept the reality that this situation is not really anyone's fault. It is unfair that he wants to drag you down into his life of misery as well. No a-holes here. It is a hard situation all round, and the way that society tends to treat the emotions of young men, I doubt he was ever given the support he needed by the adults around him. It doesn't make him right to be hurt by your acceptance of your step-family, but it does explain his anger towards the situation in general. I was struck by something, though. You said that after a few months you accepted them as they treated you well because they always wanted a daughter/sister. Forgive me if this is wildly off the mark, But it is possible that that acceptance was for you alone, and your brother, especially as he was already 16, was seen as an inconvenience at best, well before he started acting out. I say this because he mentioned being almost alone. It is possible that your stepbrothers froze him out while embracing you, driving an increasing wedge between you two, especially if he had been in the position of having to look after you beforehand and was suddenly pushed into the cold by the move, with him perceiving you as choosing people he felt he needed to protect you from. If that is the case, that wouldn't make either of you wrong for what you've done. You were teenagers. Even now you're still young. Regardless, I would suggest having a full, open, honest, and vulnerable discussion with him about it, if you are both alright with the idea. And that's it for this video, folks. As always, comment, like, and subscribe. And don't forget to turn on your notifications to get updated on the latest videos. I'll catch you in the next one. Stay safe.
Body a-hole for exposing family secrets? I, 15 male, have an uncle who loves to prank and joke. Even if you tell him to stop, he never stops. This Christmas, I was over there and all of a sudden, everyone was giving me dirty looks and icy glares. Apparently, my uncle joked that I had stolen $200 from his wallet, which is a lie. I didn't do it, and my parents dealt with it and confirmed it was a joke. A lot of people apologized to me, but some people didn't believe them. But it all came crashing down after dinner. My uncle was just joking around and roasting people even though everyone told him to stop. Then he saw me and said, "At least I don't look like a deformed gorilla." I snapped back, "At least I didn't have an affair." Context: my uncle had a 5-month affair with someone and my family covered it up on our family group chat and never told my aunt to keep the peace. Everyone looked shocked, and my aunt told me to give her proof. So I gave her the messages, and she left. She's now not talking to anyone. Now everyone says I took it too far and that he was just kidding around. Some relatives are considering cutting me off, while others are giving me the silent treatment. My parents are 100% siding with me and have been defending me. But now I'm wondering, am I the bad guy for exposing family secrets? Now for the top comments. Typically, taking the high road is always the best option. But your uncle's joke was to accuse you of stealing $200. That is not a joke, nor roasting. It disparages your character. I do think you went too far, but I understand why you did it. You just want him to stop, and nothing is working. And he did a crime. It was not a false accusation. Your poor aunt, living with that uncle of yours, he could have given her a disease. You may have saved her health. It's so sad that some of your family supports his ridiculous behavior. Uncle sounds like he has a personality disorder. Not the a-hole in the end. Best of luck. I try to steer clear of him. Not the a-hole. Uncle should have kept his mouth shut after the rest of the family told him to. Also, the family isn't any better. Uncle cheated on his wife, and the rest of the family knew and decided to keep the whole thing quiet? That is a whole family of a-holes. And why OP is getting flack from them for telling? Not the a-hole OP. Remember who does what here. You'll know who to trust and who not to. Well, they're all giving him crap because he has proven to his aunt that those people all decided to lie and conspired against her to keep his dirty little skeleton in the closet. They're mad because in one sentence, they all became the jerks. You push at people enough and you get what you get. Don't start trouble, won't be none. Not the a-hole. If someone had come back at him years ago, your uncle might not be the a-hole. He is. Yep, keep pushing and pushing. Don't be surprised when someone pushes back. Next story. Am I the a-hole for not inviting my brother's stepkids to my son's birthday? I, female 37, have a younger brother, John, male 35. Last year, he went through a brutal breakup. Found out his fiancée was cheating and had to cancel the wedding a week before. He was heartbroken and lost a ton of money. A few months later, he met Hannah, female 34, who's a mom for my kids' soccer team. My husband and I have 2 kids, and she has 3. Her oldest 2 are the same age as mine, plus she has a younger one. In October, John came to one of my kids' soccer events and they met. I didn't even introduce them. Fast forward a few weeks, and Hannah tells John she's pregnant. He was shocked but got happy and promised to be there for her and her kids. Now they're all living with him. For Christmas dinner, my parents invited Hannah and her kids. She showed up with matching pajamas for all the kids, mine and hers, that said cousin crew. It felt weird because our kids don't even talk at soccer. She kept calling me her sister and later posted pics on Instagram with the caption, "Cousin crew, new tradition, year 1. We figured she was just trying to fit in, but honestly, it felt super rushed. We don't even know her. Now here's where I might be the a-hole. My son's 10th birthday is this Saturday. He only wanted to invite his school friends for a video game and pizza party. Hannah's kids go to a different school. Yesterday, Hannah texted asking what my son likes. I told her she didn't need to get him anything, but that he loves Lego Star Wars. Then she asked what time the party starts. I told her, oh, no adults this year, and mentioned we'd be at my parents' on Sunday with a cake for family. She replied, saying she'd drop off all her kids at the party. I told her, sorry, but my son only invited his school friends this year. She said, come on, cousins are always invited. I told her, but I never invited them. Why would you think they are? She didn't reply. An hour later, John called me, yelling that I'm cruel because Hannah's pregnant, trying so hard to fit in and I didn't include her kids. I explained the situation again, but he said I'm a giant a-hole and need to teach my son empathy by including family. So do I just suck it up and invite her kids? Am I the a-hole? No, you've done right by your son. He invited who he wants. His party doesn't need to include strangers to appease your brother. Her being pregnant is irrelevant. Her trying hard to fit in is obvious, but also irrelevant. Her kids will be present for the family event. That's enough inclusion already. Not the a-hole. I think he was saying they were planning to have a lone/date night while kids at a birthday party. She's pregnant and deserves this is what John meant. My uncle married a woman with young kids when my siblings and I were adults. In the beginning, his new wife tried that cousins thing exactly once, and we all just gave her stone-faced looks. There's nothing wrong with becoming a blended family as you go along, but this girlfriend seems to really be pushing it. In October, John came to one of my kids' soccer events, and they met. I didn't even introduce them. Fast forward a few weeks, and Hannah tells John she's pregnant. This month ain't mething. And John swears he used protection. My parents questioned and John got furious. My parents were afraid of losing John, so they stopped questioning. John is old enough to make his own life choices, but you don't need to be included in them now. Now for the update. John called my mom to complain about the situation. She told him it wasn't a big deal since even the birthday boy's sister wasn't invited and was just coming over to watch a movie with her during the party. We will all have a little party and cake at our place on Sunday anyway. That made John even angrier because he thought Hannah's kids should have been invited to my mom's place to hang out with my daughter too. He lost it and said we were excluding Hannah from everything. My mom tried to explain it wasn't like that and that she was just hanging out with my daughter. Now John and Hannah have blocked us everywhere. I'm honestly heartbroken because I feel like this is going to end badly. I just hope he reaches out when he's ready. Next story. Am I the a-hole for telling my dad it hurt my feelings that he is a better dad now that he's a stepdad and wouldn't do it for me? My parents got divorced when I, 17 male, was 7. My dad was never the best dad or the worst dad. He wasn't a monster or neglectful, but he never made time for me. When he wasn't working, he'd be doing chores and stuff at home, and he mostly left me to do whatever I wanted. If I asked him to hang out with me, he'd say later, and later never came. Or he was too busy and said maybe another time, but the other time never came. He encouraged me to do as many extracurriculars as I wanted, and he hired a babysitter to take me to and from those after school. He went to parent-teacher conferences with my mom, but I don't remember him being at very many school plays or sport games. The few times he showed up, he'd be gone before it was over and wouldn't mention it. And sometimes he'd be so distracted, he'd ignore questions I ask. It always made me sad, and I asked him to spend time together pretty often. When I found out he was dating someone, it was a surprise. But then it hurt me again because I found out he was spending time with her and her kids and bonding with them. He did eventually include me in that for a few months before they moved in together, but I was pretty devastated, not gonna lie. I saw him be such a different person, and since they got married, he's become a way better dad. But it started with them, and it hurts and makes me angry too. I don't want them to have better than me. I hate that they get better from my own dad than I did until they came along. He's taken more of an interest in me, but I pulled away, and I rejected a lot of his attempts. He takes us all out to do stuff, and when I see how much time is spent with them and the bond he built with them, it makes me want to tell them all to go buzz off. His wife has called me out for not being warmer to her kids and for not trying to get to know them like they've tried to get to know me. My dad has set up a rotation for different things with different kids, and I'm included in it. But it doesn't feel like enough when I have to watch him include them when they got this stuff before me. He sat me down a few weeks ago and told me he felt like I was unhappy and wanted us to talk. He said his wife told him that when I'm here, I don't interact with her or the kids, and that I come across as being angry at her kids. A few times, I walked away, but it looked like I was going to be mean. He asked me what was up, and I told him exactly how I felt. I told him it hurts me to see him be this great dad because he met them and became a stepdad, but would it do it for me? I told him it ticked me off so badly. I told him where was that dad for me? And why did he give them the dad he is now first? Why them? Why not his own kid? I told him they're not his real kids. They're not the kid who wanted so badly for him to spend time with him. I am. I told him I deserved it, not them. They were just his wife's kids. I pointed out how often I tried to spend time with him before he'd met her, and how he'd brush me off, or how little he showed up and took an interest. I asked him how I was meant to be happy he was trying now when they got it first, when they started it, not me. I told him I couldn't be glad for them. He told me he was sorry and he started to get upset. He said he didn't really reflect like he should have on his feelings and that he heard everything I said. He said he was so sorry he wasn't better and all this stuff. He told me he wanted the chance to make it up to me, but he couldn't just ignore them now either. And to do better for real, he needed to give me a one-on-one time, but he also needed to still keep spending time with them. He asked me if I was okay with it. I said no. I told him I wanted him to ignore them and only care about me, but I know that's not fair. It just doesn't seem fair that they got this better version first. I told him it kills me to see it. We talked some more and we agreed it would be better if I live with mom and it takes time with me, and he's doing that. But after Christmas, his wife reached out and she told me she heard everything I said and how unfair it was to punish her kids with what I said when they're not responsible. She said it made my dad feel so guilty too, and how that wasn't fair when I should just enjoy the fact he's doing better. Am I the a-hole? Now for the comments. Not the a-hole. Your feelings are super valid here. It's rough seeing your dad level up for someone else's kids and feeling like you missed out on that version of him growing up. It's okay to feel hurt, but maybe consider this a chance to build something new with him, even if it started rocky. Keep your head up. You're navigating tough emotional waters, and that takes strength. We're working on it. He's trying, and I'm glad. I just can't watch him with them and have us make progress. That's why we have the new agreement. Could you ask your dad to do family therapy, just the two of you? It could help you both process and move on from the past, as well as deal with any roadblocks moving forward as you try to build something new. It can help to have an unbiased person helping to navigate the situation. They can also help your dad with addressing the situation with his new wife and kids. I'd rather wait a while before doing that, but it's something I can bring up later. I just want to see what he can do without therapy first. Not the a-hole, but his wife is a total a-hole for calling you to complain about a conversation that she had no place in and trying to guilt you into being a sibling to her children. Right? Like, way to kiss goodbye to any progress that was made, lady. What is with the steps on here, reaching out to these kids behind the bio parents' backs against their wishes and meddling in a situation that was properly being addressed? The rage. OP is not the a-hole. Yep, Instead of interfering, she should be supporting her husband's efforts to repair his relationship with his son. Last story. Am I the a-hole for refusing to babysit my sister's kids for free anymore? I, 29 female, have been babysitting my sister Lily's 35 female kids, Ben 8 male and Ella 5 female, for years. Lily's a single mom, and I love my niece and nephew dearly. I've always been happy to help out, especially since Lily has a demanding job and often needs someone to watch the kids in the evenings or on the weekends. However, recently, it started to feel like I'm being taken for granted. What started as occasional evening has turned into me watching the kids 3 to 4 times a week, sometimes for entire weekends. Lily doesn't even ask anymore. He just tells me, "You're free Friday night, right?" Or, "I'm dropping the kids off in an hour." I work full-time, and I have my own life and responsibilities. Babysitting this often has started to take a toll on me, both mentally and socially. I've had to cancel plans with friends multiple times because Lily needed me. She never offers to pay me, even for long stretches. And while I don't expect to profit from helping family, it would be nice to feel appreciated. Last week, Lily asked me to watch the kids for an entire weekend because she wanted to go on a trip with her friends. I told her I couldn't, as I already had plans. She got upset and said I was being selfish, claiming I don't understand how hard it is to be a single mom. At that point, I calmly told her that I love her and the kids, but I can't keep babysitting for free whenever she wants. I suggested she look into hiring a sitter or finding a daycare service for the times I'm unavailable. She flipped out, calling me ungrateful and saying family should help each other without expecting anything in return. Now, some of our relatives are weighing in. A few agree with me, but others think I'm being unreasonable and that I should just suck it up since I don't have kids of my own. I feel bad because I know Lily's struggling, but I also feel like I'm being used. Am I the a-hole? She flipped out, calling me ungrateful and saying family should help each other without expecting anything in return. So, what exactly would you be ungrateful for? I mean, what help have you been getting from her or other family? Has she been giving you massive amounts of assistance in other areas of your life or other members of your family? As you described things, this seems pretty one-sided. But if there is some other half of this that you aren't talking about, you could also Uno reverse and ask her to babysit her own kids this weekend as you have plans. If she balks, you could talk about family helping each other out, not the a-hole. It amazes me how the excuse is, since you don't have kids of your own, yet people expect these kids to be watched, sacrificed for, and cared for like the free babysitter birthed them. Not the a-hole. Lily is a user and is trying to emotionally manipulate you. She has a good deal, free babysitting anytime she wants so she can have her demanding job and a social life. That just isn't the case for most single moms. It is completely unreasonable for her to believe she can schedule something that requires you to babysit without talking to you first and getting your agreement, especially for entire weekends. As for your relatives that she has enlisted to gang up on you, they are enabling her selfish behavior and participating in her emotional abuse of you to get her way. Tell those suckers that if they believe Lily needs support, then by all means they can step up and help provide that. But it is none of their business how, when, or if you choose to support your sister in any particular way. Their argument that you don't have kids, so you should do this, is one of the dumbest ones I have ever heard. It's not the first time I have heard it, but it's still one of the dumbest ones. The fact is that a parent with similarly aged kids is better equipped to watch kids for a prolonged period of time, and parents who have older kids are probably next in line. The only thing you have is maybe more time because you aren't juggling multiple people's schedules, and that you love the kids. It's not fair of her to take that time from you. I doubt she plans on doing the same for you when/if you have kids. If you have chosen not to have kids, it's also unfair to force her kids on you.